Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be speaking about happiness, and nobody has ever taught us in our schools on how to be happy, right? We were only taught academic subjects, but the most important thing in life is to learn how to be happy. As children, it comes naturally to us. Without a care in the world, we are happy no matter what. But as we grow up, life's challenges come our way. And then something hits us hard. It's either a crisis or a health issue, or it's the loss of a loved one, or just things aren't going our way as we expect it to be. And then this leads to a whole host of problems. First, we become fearful. Then when fear continues and becomes intense, it becomes anxiety, leading to anxiety and panic attacks. And then it leads to depression. Sometimes this depression is something that we recover from on our own. And sometimes it is called as clinical depression, and we need professional psychiatric help. And then we have to recover from those lows. So mental well-being is of primary importance to be included in daily academic learning in schools and in colleges. So whatever I've figured out in my life, I'm sharing with you in order to help you, and I hope it resonates in some way based on your life experience and what you have learned as well in your journey of success and failures. So the key question to ask is, how do I find a way to balance myself despite the challenges that I face on a daily basis, despite the successes and failures that will come my way? How do I balance myself and find peace in everything that I do? And how do I keep myself simple? And how do I keep myself in a learning mode so that I can remain at ease every day? This is our goal, and this is what every human being aspires to have. And it is not as difficult as we imagine it to be. But it requires right knowledge, right understanding, and a skillful way to discern and make creative choices with whatever we are faced in our lives. So let's delve a little deeper as to what exactly is happening in our body, our brain, and our mind, and what causes happiness, what causes a sense of well-being. So let's begin with our brain. This is the master switch. This is the key. And the brain, as we know, has billions and trillions of neurons. These neurons are controlling all activities and processes of the human body. Therefore, they are governed by a set of messenger hormones, or what is called as neurotransmitters. In other words, those chemicals which allow for transmission of messages between neurons. So scientists have identified over long periods of study several neurotransmitters and hormones. But for today's discussion, we will talk about the most important and prominent set of hormones so that we can understand how happiness and a sense of well-being is produced by the brain. So, what is it that happens to most of us when we feel stressed? What is the brain reaction and what is the body reaction? Well, the brain produces a hormone called as cortisol. And cortisol is called a stress hormone. And the cortisol stress hormone is produced by the brain in order for it to learn to adapt the body and our thoughts in order to protect us from causing more stress. and therefore it kicks in. But when very high amounts of cortisol is present in our bloodstream and in our brain, then we get what is called as inflammations in the body. It could be aches and pains, and these aches and pains do not necessarily have anything physical as a cause. It's purely mental stress, right? And these aches and pains makes us unhappy because the pain is manifested in the body, and we have to tolerate that pain until we find a proper solution, a proper way to heal ourselves. So this is what cortisol does. Therefore, let us look at what is the connection and association between stress, and compare that with how much productivity we can gain, or engagement we can gain, or happiness we can gain. So if we draw this in the form of a graph in order to understand what really is happening to us when we are stressed. So please take a look at this graph. There is stress in the y-axis plotted, and there is happiness, productivity, engagement, work accomplishment, whatever outcomes you want on the x-axis, and the y-axis is stress, increasing by time. Now, when you increase the stress level, in the beginning you begin to get some productivity, you begin to get some output, and then you reach a optimal level, what is known as the flow. And when human beings are in the flow, they are in the optimal state of creative intelligence. Their output is far more than the input of time and effort. And optimal flow is what we need to achieve in order for us to make inventions and innovations, in order for us to feel peace and happiness and joy and a sense of well-being. So our goal is to bring the brain to the state of flow. And then when flow is achieved, then there is a natural progression downwards as the stress levels continue. And the stress levels drop, the productivity drops, engagement drops, and the happiness drops. So we need stress. Not all stress is bad for us. We need eustress, the good stress. In order for us to come to the state of flow, we need to find our flow. Therefore, cortisol is important, but too much of cortisol is where the problem gets to trigger. We need to identify our triggers. And when we identify our triggers and become aware that these triggers are putting me in an anxious state, or is causing fear, is causing anxiety and fear or panic attacks, then we have to be aware of these triggers. And then we have to, through awareness, understand that these triggers are just what we perceive. They don't exist in the real world. It is what we perceive. It's a story we tell ourselves. And that is how we need to think about and remember the cortisol causing inflammation and cortisol causing stressful symptoms in our body. Now, let's look at the acronym DOSE, a daily dose of happiness. So when you go to the doctor prescribes you some medicine, some tablets, and there's a dosage that he recommends that you should take those medicines in. So similarly, a daily dose of happiness, a 101 lesson in happiness. So I call this the cortisol balance framework. So we discussed about cortisol and neurotransmitters. So let's look at 4 other important complementary neurotransmitters which have very specific role to play in contributing to our sense of well-being. Number 1 is dopamine. A positive release of dopamine can be achieved whenever we win something, whenever we accomplish our goals, whenever we complete our project. When we accomplish something, we have a sense of accomplishment, and that releases dopamine. This is the positive way of releasing dopamine. And dopamine is what gives us the sense of pleasure. And this is the reason why people are addicted to video games and social media, because it gives them a release of dopamine. It's the same thing that you get when you smoke or when you are engaged in alcohol consumption. So, dopamine is the happiness hormone, but what activity do we engage in order to release dopamine also determines whether it would be a peaceful happiness or whether it will be something that is transient, temporary, and causes more misery than the temporary joy we felt in doing that activity. Therefore, we have to be careful, and dopamine can be accomplished in a positive way by setting out to do projects and accomplishing those projects, as simple as they may be. It could be as simple as learning how to cook, or learning how to garden, or learning a new language, for example. And then random acts of kindness, our innate ability to care for others selflessly. This also releases dopamine and increases our sense of well-being. So winning, random acts and random acts of kindness, and many others which you need to discover by digging deeper and experiencing. Second, that we need to consider hormone or neurotransmitter is oxytocin. Oxytocin. Oxytocin is the love hormone. This is what the mother feels when she holds her baby. It's a release of oxytocin. This is what we feel when we hug each other, when we demonstrate affection towards each other. It's oxytocin. And oxytocin is extremely important for us to heal, to balance our body and bring down our stress levels. Number 3 is serotonin. And how do we make sure we have enough serotonin in our brain? Or what increases serotonin production in our system? Or what makes sure that there's a balanced amount of serotonin in our brain? We can definitely impact positively by being grateful, by having a sense of gratitude, by saying thank you for every little blessing. We increase our serotonin in our brain, and therefore it gives us a sense of well-being. Be grateful. Happiness is about enjoying what we have, not necessarily accumulating more and more things that we don't eventually need. So be grateful and say thank you genuinely, sincerely. Sincerity counts. And 4, E for endorphin, E for exercise. We need to learn to exercise every day. 20 minutes of normal walking in the outdoors, preferably, or within your homes, currently because of the pandemic situation, is beneficial over the long term for your body and mind and your heart. As simple as walking every day. Walking every day. Simply walk. And if you can do more, please do yoga. If you can do more, please do endurance workouts. If you can go trekking, hiking, climbing, swimming, cycling, all of that will help you to release endorphins. Endorphins are those hormones which are released because the body wants to heal the muscle fatigue accumulation. When you perform a physical activity, lactic acid is produced in the muscle, and this lactic acid leads to muscular fatigue, and in order to dissolve the fatigue, endorphins are released. And that's how you have a sense of healing, a sense of joy when you have a good workout. So endorphins are your friend. So dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin and endorphin. Dose. Take the dose or create the dose in order to keep the balance. It's cortisol balance framework. And this way, on a daily cycle of 24 hours, you as a human being are already equipped to heal yourself, provided you understand and act in alignment with the natural systems and processes for which you have been designed by nature. If you live the natural way, then you will be happy the natural way without much effort. There is nothing more you need to do. There is nothing more you need to acquire. Children are already happy. They are born in the happy state until we teach them fear and give them unproductive conditioning. So you need to just be aware that by doing nothing, you can be happy, provided you keep the baggage of expectations to a minimum and live life in a simple and natural way. So, what are the things that we can do as actions in order to change the feeling? So, a lot of people, when they're depressed or anxious, they're waiting for the feeling to change in order to take some positive action. But that is not going to be a skillful way to live. It is important for us to take action in order to initiate a change or transformation of the feeling. So what actions can we take? So here are 8 easy tips. 8 stands for continuous learning and growing. 8, when you put it laterally, is also the symbol of infinity, infinite energy, infinite love. And there are 8 things that you can do in your life, which all of us are doing in various ways. But if you understand it and do it with a certain understanding and keep the balance, then you will benefit a lot more. So number 1 is adopt a pet. Please adopt a pet. There are so many creatures around the world, cats, dogs, whatever you like, whatever you can afford in terms of your space, living space and your lifestyle. Adopt a pet, as this will allow you to bond and have a daily engagement with someone that you can unconditionally love and someone who will unconditionally love you back. Unconditional is the key word. Without expectations, without judgment. If you can't adopt a pet, at least grow plants, have a home garden, learn gardening, put your fingers in the soil, get muddy, get dirty. Believe me, it's liberating. It's liberating. And if you can't even do that, then at least keep an aquarium at home. And you will bring a little bit of the natural ecosystem in your home, in your room, on your table. And that makes a huge impact to your brain. You will be part of nature, from where all of us come. 2, always take the opportunity to climb stairs. Do not use elevators. Try it. It's the most simple way of adding a workout in your daily routine. All of us have to climb stairs, and there are opportunities to climb stairs almost every day in most of our lives. Try it. 3, walk around. Get up and walk around. Talk to people. Reduce the amount of emails you send. Emails are meant for specific purposes. Realize what those purposes are and use it appropriately. Do not email blindly and do not spam everyone. Walk and talk. Talk to your colleagues. Meet, see them in the eye. Appreciate them. Get engaged and involve yourself. Of course, during the pandemic, it's tough to do, but when things come back to the new normal, please make sure that you remember these simple techniques to reconnect with people. Point number 4, say hello, call people, do not chat endlessly. Whatever messenger service you're using is irrelevant, but at least pick up the phone and have a meaningful conversation with your friend, with your colleague, with whoever, rather than mindlessly chatting of things which are of no consequence. So there's so much of chatter in the external world which gets into your mind and creates the mind chatter. And that puts you on a low mode most of the time because you're overwhelming your brain with unnecessary, unfiltered information of no relevance and consequence. None of us need to know everything that is happening around in the world and in other people's lives. So curate the content with the right intent. And the content that you generate, make sure it's coming with the right intent. So say hello, speak to people, reconnect, go retro. Point number 5 is observe nature. It's extremely important that you observe nature, especially if you are not living in an area where there is greenery around. You have to make an effort to observe nature. Observe the plants, the trees, the bees, the birds, the butterflies. There is so much you can learn from them. And you will reconnect. You will feel a sense of calm over a period of time. And it is as simple as that. Point number 6 is universal love. Everybody is equal. If you have the perspective that everybody is equal and I have something to learn from everyone, then everybody will seem to be equal to you and you would treat everybody with the same level of respect, irrespective of the designation or social status. Everyone in your life is significant. Acknowledge them, speak to them. Make sure that the common folk who are doing extraordinary efforts to make your life comfortable are acknowledged. Speak to them in a meaningful way, in a sincere way, engage and speak and ask of their lives. This will make you feel really good and it will make you feel connected. And you will make a huge change in the quality of their lives as well. Number 7 is surrender. Whenever things become overwhelming, let go. Learn to surrender. We are born into this world. We did not choose how we were born, consciously at least. And we have not chosen, for most part, how our life will progress or how it will end or when it will end. So when things get overwhelming, you need to surrender, abandon. Just abandon and surrender. Let go. Let go. Accept the change and move on. Do not repeat and keep holding your past and repeat whatever happened in the past and cause more pain in the present and also spoil and cause a lot of stress for yourself in the future. And that brings us back to where we started. So these are the last point, 8, is be a learner for life. It's not necessary that you need to push yourself to say that I am right. Do not be in the I am right mode. It takes a long time to come to a state where you know that you have to let go. You have to allow for opinions which may be counter to what your perspective is. But that's how you maintain peace and harmony in any discussion. And also your own perspective in your mind is to be a learner for life. Is to ask yourself, maybe I have a point to consider. Maybe I need to retrace my steps and consider. I need to learn and consider and reflect. And therefore be a learner for life. And that way you will be able to let go. You will not have the compulsive habit of wanting to be right. And if you can accomplish that with your own self, you will be peaceful. With that learning, I wish and I pray that you will always be joyful, peaceful, and be a contributing human being on our planet. Thank you.